And we have three different sports media figures that have released their All-Star ballots, and Angel Reese is nowhere to be seen. She's not involved.
The votes are in, and the outcome couldn't be clearer. Despite being promoted as one of the biggest stars in women's basketball, Angel Reese's All-Star voting results tell a very different story. The player, once praised by major media outlets as a face of the league, wasn't merely left off the top spots. She finished well outside the top tier, landing in 13th place. It wasn't a narrow miss or a controversial exclusion. It was a decisive result that has sparked debate across the basketball world. For many observers, the outcome raises an important question. How can one of the most talked about and heavily marketed athletes in the game struggle to earn stronger support in a fan-driven vote? The answer may highlight the growing gap between media narratives, social media popularity, and on-court performance. While headlines and endorsements can generate attention, All-Star voting often reflects how fans, media members, and players view a competitor's impact throughout the season. Reese's finish has reignited discussions about whether public perception truly matches reality and whether the hype surrounding certain players has outpaced their actual achievements on the court.
And Angel Reese being the face of the WNBA, you would think Angel Reese is leading the league in votes. Not only is the self-proclaimed Barbie not in the lead, Angel Reese isn't even close to making the top 10.
To understand the significance of this moment, it's important to look at the expectations that surrounded Angel Reese from the very beginning. Long before she stepped onto a WNBA court, Reese had already become one of the most recognizable names in basketball. Her rise was fueled by a memorable NCAA championship run, where her confidence, competitive spirit, and outspoken personality helped turn her into a national sensation. One of the defining moments of that journey was her widely discussed "you can't see me" gesture toward Caitlin Clark during the championship game, a moment that quickly spread across social media and became part of the broader conversation around women's basketball. From that point forward, Reese was viewed as more than just an athlete. She became a major cultural figure with significant marketing appeal. High-profile endorsement opportunities soon followed, including a multi-year partnership with Reebok and deals with major brands such as Beats by Dre, PlayStation, and several fashion companies. With growing media attention, corporate backing, and a rapidly expanding fan base, many believed Reese was positioned to become one of the defining stars of the next generation of women's basketball.
And we saw from the popularity voting, remember, it wasn't just Caitlin Clark, it was me too. Angel was 13th in the All-Star voting. Well, everything I've been told, she should have been at least second.
As her profile continued to grow, Angel Reese's popularity extended far beyond the basketball court. Her social media audience surged into the millions, giving her a reach that exceeded that of many established WNBA veterans. The Bayou Barbie persona evolved into a powerful personal brand, helping her secure sponsorships, media opportunities, and a level of visibility rarely seen for a rookie player. At the same time, the media frequently highlighted Reese and Caitlin Clark as the central figures of a new era in women's basketball, presenting them as rivals whose popularity could help elevate the league to new heights. The WNBA also embraced Reese's star power, featuring her prominently in promotional campaigns and marketing initiatives. As a result, expectations reached extraordinary levels. The conversation was no longer about whether she could become an all-star someday. It was about how quickly she would establish herself among the league's biggest and most influential stars. With so much attention, support, and hype surrounding her arrival, many viewed anything short of immediate stardom as highly unlikely.
11.3 points and 11.9 boards and a 38.5% shooter at 6'3".
When the All-Star fan voting results were released, they sparked intense discussion about the gap between media attention and fan support. Angel Reese finished 13th in the voting with just over 173,000 votes, a result that surprised many given the level of publicity surrounding her throughout her college and professional career. The contrast became even more noticeable when compared to Caitlin Clark, who received more than 700,000 votes and led the field by a significant margin. Other established stars, including reigning MVP Aya Wilson, also finished well ahead in the standings. What drew even more attention was that Reese was outpolled by several players who generally receive less national media coverage, including teammates and veterans whose profiles are often lower outside basketball circles. For critics of the league's marketing narratives, the results were seen as evidence that visibility and brand recognition do not always translate into fan voting success. Supporters, however, argued that all-star voting reflects a combination of factors, including performance, popularity, team success, and fan engagement, and that a single voting cycle does not define a player's long-term impact or future standing in the league.
So it's been very up and down. All of her numbers, she's over 2 points a game behind last year, and basically a little over a rebound a game down, and that's supposed to be her strong suit.
The gap wasn't merely significant, it was impossible to ignore. For a player who had been promoted as one of the faces of the league and a central figure in its future, finishing well outside the top tier of all-star voting raised serious questions about the difference between media exposure and fan support. This wasn't a situation where Reese narrowly missed out to a longtime veteran or lost by a small margin. The voting results revealed a substantial divide between the expectations created around her and the response she received from the voting public. While headlines, endorsements, and social media attention had fueled the perception of overwhelming popularity, the final numbers painted a far different picture. The contrast was striking. The hype surrounding her career had been loud and constant, yet the votes failed to reflect that same level of enthusiasm. As analysts and fans began examining the results, attention quickly shifted to the factors behind the disconnect, with debates focusing on performance, consistency, team success, public perception, and whether the narrative surrounding Reese had grown faster than her accomplishments on the court.
She not only was she not second, she was basically 3 times the amount of votes behind Caitlin Clark.
Beneath the magazine covers, endorsement deals, and social media buzz, a different narrative was unfolding on the basketball court, one measured not by headlines but by production and efficiency. For many voters, the discussion ultimately came down to performance, and the statistics raised concerns that were difficult to overlook. One of the most frequently cited numbers was Angel Reese's field goal percentage, which hovered below 40%. For a 6'3" forward whose game is built around scoring near the basket, that figure became a major point of criticism. In professional basketball, players who operate primarily in the paint are generally expected to convert a higher percentage of their opportunities, making efficiency a key measure of effectiveness. Compared with many of the league's top forwards, who often shoot much closer to 50% or better, Reese's numbers fueled questions about her offensive consistency and overall impact. While supporters pointed to her rebounding, energy, and defensive contributions, critics argued that scoring efficiency remains one of the most important indicators of a player's value. As a result, many fans evaluating all-star candidates looked beyond the marketing and media attention, focusing instead on the statistical production that appears in the box score every night.
The same Angel Reese who has been begging, and I mean begging, people on social media to vote for her? Angel Reese, number 13 on the list, 173,000 votes.
For many voters, the concerns went beyond shooting percentage alone. Angel Reese's turnover rate ranked among the highest for starting forwards, often diminishing the impact of her elite rebounding numbers and creating questions about her overall efficiency. In a league featuring highly productive and efficient stars such as Alyssa Thomas and Breanna Stewart, all-star selections are often judged by a combination of scoring, playmaking, and possession management. Critics argued that Reese's statistical profile simply did not compare favorably to the league's top forwards. Rather than strengthening her all-star case, some of her key numbers became points of concern, fueling the perception that her on-court production had not yet caught up to the superstar status created by media coverage and marketing campaigns. As a result, the gap between the narrative surrounding Reese and her statistical performance became one of the central talking points in the debate over her place among the league's elite players.
A potential reserve, who would it be? Gabby Williams and Brittany Sykes. So Angel Reese couldn't even squeeze into a reserve spot. And now Megan Hall of USA Today, she left Angel Reese off her All-Star ballot.
The story becomes even more striking when attention shifts from the fans to the media members responsible for casting all-star ballots. Many expected journalists, who had frequently highlighted Angel Reese's popularity and cultural impact, to strongly support her candidacy. Instead, several prominent ballots suggested a different evaluation. As individual selections from respected writers became public, Reese was notably absent from a number of them, including ballots submitted by journalists from major national outlets. For critics, this was particularly significant because many of the same organizations had previously covered Reese extensively and celebrated her influence on the sport. The contrast reinforced the growing perception that while her impact on visibility, marketing, and fan engagement was undeniable, many voters were separating those factors from their assessment of on-court performance. In the end, the message from a portion of the media appeared clear. Recognition and star power alone were not enough to earn an all-star selection without the statistical production and consistency typically associated with the league's top players.
The front court players, Boston, Nafisi Collier, Nika, Satu Sabali, Brianna Stewart, and Asia Wilson. All right. And down here, Boston, Jonquel Jones, Alyssa Thomas. No Angel Reese, folks.
What made the situation even more noteworthy was that the skepticism wasn't coming solely from fans. The discussion had expanded to include some of the sport's most influential media voices, the very people who helped shape public perception around players and teams. When several prominent journalists left Angel Reese off their all-star ballots, many observers viewed it as a powerful statement about how her season was being evaluated. These were not random commentators, but experienced analysts and voters whose selections are based largely on-court performance. To critics, their ballots suggested a growing disconnect between the public narrative surrounding Reese and the standards typically used to determine all-star selections. The message seemed clear. While Reese remained one of the league's most recognizable and marketable figures, a number of media members no longer viewed her production as matching the superstar status often attached to her name. As a result, the debate moved beyond fan opinion and into the broader basketball establishment, adding another layer to the conversation about expectations, performance, and perception.
Probably means she will not be a starter in the All-Star game, which would make sense because Angel Reese shouldn't be a starter for a regular season game.
As the All-Star voting period entered its final stretch and the results appeared increasingly difficult to overcome, Angel Reese turned to social media and encouraged her followers to vote for her. On its own, the move was hardly unusual. Athletes across every major sport regularly use their platforms to rally fan support during award and all-star voting campaigns. However, given the growing questions surrounding her ranking in the polls and the ongoing debate about her on-court performance, the appeal attracted additional scrutiny. To supporters, it was a natural effort by a high-profile athlete to engage her fan base. To critics, it reflected the reality that the level of support generated by media coverage and social media attention was not translating into the voting numbers many had expected. The moment became another focal point in the broader discussion surrounding Reese's season, highlighting the contrast between her massive online presence and the challenges she faced in converting that visibility into widespread all-star backing.
Beckers is number 6, which I thought was rather surprising. 3 months ago, Paige Beckers was the only star in women's basketball not named Caitlin Clark. She entered the WNBA dump with a massive amount of mainstream notoriety. But as soon as she put on the hard hat, as soon as she was sized for the steel-toed boots, the second she took off the UConn jersey and exchanged it for the Dallas Wankers, Paige Beckers seems to have disappeared.
Rather than providing the surge she may have hoped for, the voting campaign sparked even more debate about the nature of Angel Reese's popularity. Critics argued that the results revealed a disconnect between social media influence and active fan engagement within the WNBA community. Despite boasting millions of followers and generating constant online attention, the expected wave of votes never fully materialized. To some observers, this suggested that a large portion of her audience was drawn more to her celebrity status, viral moments, and cultural presence than to the day-to-day realities of professional basketball. The contrast became difficult to ignore. While Reese remained one of the most talked-about athletes in the sport, the voting numbers indicated that online visibility alone was not enough to guarantee widespread support in a fan-driven competition. What was intended as a rallying cry instead became another chapter in the ongoing debate over whether her immense popularity truly reflected her standing among dedicated basketball fans.
The mainstream media has been trying to convince us that Angel Reese is a huge star. Some in the media even do investigative journalism and claim that Angel Reese is the face of the WNBA because she leads the league in followers on social media, along with missed layups and a complete lack of athleticism.
Perhaps the most revealing aspect of the All-Star voting results was the portion that received the least public attention, the player vote. Unlike fans or media members, players evaluate one another from first-hand experience. They compete against each other throughout the season, study tendencies, and understand the nuances of performance that often go unnoticed by casual observers. In the WNBA's voting system, player ballots account for a significant share of the final outcome, giving athletes themselves a direct voice in determining who deserves all-star recognition. While individual ballots remain confidential, the final standings suggested that Reese did not receive enough support from her peers to overcome her overall position in the voting. For critics, that outcome carried particular weight because it implied that the people who know the game best reached a similar conclusion to many media voters. Whether fair or not, the results reinforced the perception that Reese's reputation and visibility had outpaced her on-court production, making the gap between celebrity and performance one of the defining storylines of the All-Star race.
Now, we know the media jumped through hoops, gymnastics, mental gymnastics. I mean, however you try to put it, they tried to raise up Angel Reese last year as being, of course, she's running neck and neck with Caitlin Clark for the Rookie of the Year. Except that wasn't accurate at all.
The outcome also fueled a broader conversation about how respect is earned within professional basketball. While popularity, endorsements, and social media influence can elevate a player's profile, many believe that lasting respect from peers comes from consistent performance, efficiency, and contributions that help teams win games. In that context, the player vote carried special significance because it reflected the opinions of athletes who compete against one another throughout the season. Although individual ballots remain private, the final results suggested that Reese did not receive the level of support needed to rank among the league's top all-star selections. For some observers, that indicated that her reputation as a cultural star had not yet translated into universal recognition as one of the WNBA's elite performers. The discussion wasn't simply about popularity versus criticism. It was about the difference between public visibility and the sustained on-court excellence that players and coaches often value most. As a result, the voting results became a reflection of how performance, consistency, and reputation intersect in the race for all-star recognition.
On, folks. People are catching on. Her fans can't defend the play anymore. And I guess members of the media are starting to give up.
Another factor frequently discussed by analysts and fans is the role that Angel Reese's public persona has played in shaping perceptions of her career. From her college days onward, Reese embraced a bold, confident style that made her one of the most recognizable figures in women's basketball. Her willingness to engage in trash talk, celebrate emotionally, and lean into controversy helped generate enormous attention and made her a constant topic of conversation across sports media and social platforms. That approach undeniably expanded her visibility and helped build a powerful personal brand. However, The qualities that drive headlines and online engagement do not always translate into all-star support. While some fans view her intensity as a sign of competitiveness and confidence, others see certain moments as unnecessarily polarizing. As a result, Reese's public image has become both a strength and a challenge, elevating her profile while also creating strong opinions on both sides. For some voters, the focus remained on performance alone, but for others, the combination of on-court production, public perception, and overall reputation likely influenced how they evaluated her place among the league's top players.
It was our understanding, from what we understood, she was going to be among the players, right? That's what the media has been trying to tell us, except the media is finally telling you, this is 3 members of the media, 2 from SI, 1 from USA Today, and they are saying she is not among the starters, in their opinion, in the WNBA All-Star game. They're not on these ballots.
The debate surrounding Angel Reese's All-Star candidacy was influenced not only by statistics, but also by the reputation she has developed throughout her basketball career. High-profile incidents, heated rivalries, and emotional on-court moments kept her at the center of media coverage and social media discussions. Supporters viewed these moments as evidence of her passion, competitiveness, and willingness to play with intensity, while critics argued that they sometimes overshadowed her basketball accomplishments. As a result, Reese became one of the most polarizing figures in the sport. That visibility undoubtedly helped expand her brand and attract attention to the league, but it may also have contributed to mixed perceptions among some fans, media members, and fellow players. The contrast highlights a challenge faced by many high-profile athletes. The qualities that generate headlines and public interest do not always translate into awards, votes, or widespread professional recognition. In Reese's case, the same bold personality that helped make her a household name may have also shaped how voters evaluated her when comparing her to other all-star candidates whose cases were built primarily on production, efficiency, and team success.
I mean, we got to remember, they may put Angel Reese on their backs and try to carry her across the finish line, for crying out loud. But my goodness, what a difference. What a difference in the media from this time last year. People are finally catching on. Basketball fans, actual basketball fans that know anything about basketball, they've caught on. There's no doubt about it.
The All-Star voting results ultimately became about more than just Angel Reese. They reflected what many fans, media members, and players currently value in the WNBA. The contrast with Caitlin Clark was impossible for many observers to ignore. Both entered the league under immense pressure and unprecedented scrutiny, but their paths quickly diverged. While Reese remained at the center of headlines, debates, and social media discussions, Clark built her case through production on the court, consistently delivering elite performances and posting historic numbers in scoring and assists. Week after week, she found herself breaking records and driving conversations through her play rather than her persona. For many voters, that distinction mattered. The All-Star results suggested that while visibility and star power can attract attention, sustained excellence, statistical impact, and game-changing performances remain the ultimate currency in earning recognition among the league's elite. In that sense, the voting was not merely a comparison between 2 players. It was a reflection of the standards many believe define true WNBA stardom.
Actual basketball fans that know anything about basketball, they've caught on. There's no doubt about it.
Her production became so difficult to ignore that any serious debate about her all-star credentials quickly faded. For many observers, the voting results sent a broader message about the direction of the WNBA. In an era where women's basketball is attracting unprecedented attention, visibility and marketing can create opportunities, but sustained excellence remains the ultimate measure of success. The conversation extended beyond Angel Reese and Caitlin Clark alone. Highly publicized young stars across the league, including Paige Buchers, discovered that recognition and popularity do not automatically translate into top-tier all-star support. The results suggested that fans, media members, and players alike were placing increasing emphasis on production, consistency, and overall impact. If there was a lesson from the voting process, it was that reputation may generate headlines, but performance remains the deciding factor when it comes to earning recognition among the league's elite. The modern WNBA is more competitive and more visible than ever, and the All-Star ballot served as an early reminder that results on the court ultimately carry the greatest weight. In the end, Angel Reese's All-Star snub was not the result of a single factor, but rather the convergence of multiple forces that shaped public perception throughout the season. The expectations surrounding her were enormous, fueled by media attention, endorsement deals, social media popularity, and the belief that she would immediately become one of the league's defining stars. Yet when voting time arrived, many fans, media members, and players appeared to focus primarily on production, efficiency, and overall impact. The result exposed the gap that can exist between visibility and performance in professional sports. For Reese, the setback now represents a pivotal moment in her career. Some will view it as a temporary obstacle that could motivate her to elevate her game and fulfill the immense potential many see in her. Others will argue that it exposed weaknesses that must be addressed before she can be considered among the league's elite. What happens next will likely shape not only how her career is remembered, but also how future stars are evaluated in an era where popularity, branding, and social media influence are more powerful than ever. The ultimate question is whether attention alone can sustain stardom, or whether sustained excellence on the court will continue to be the standard by which the game's biggest names are judged.